Hey guys, welcome back to the Ghosty Girls. Hi. Let me adjust my mic because this is like right in my face and it's obnoxious.
I thought that's how you liked it, right in your face.
I mean, I normally do, but I also need to see my notes.
That's fair.
Because this one, I got a lot of notes on this one, and I'm going to warn you right now. This one's going to be long, okay? And it's also going to be at least a 3-parter, maybe a 4-parter.
Oh shit, we're doing this one?
Yeah. Yeah.
Ooh. Okay.
Yeah. It's just, it's too much to try to squeeze into one episode or even 2 episodes. It's a lot. This was a huge undertaking, like both research wise and also emotionally. Like this is fucked up. And it's, in my opinion, it's one of the top 5 worst criminal cases in modern day history. To me. Yeah.
So she's been telling me that she was going to be working on a 2-parter and then she took it up to 3 and then she's like, it might be a 5-parter. I don't know. Are people going to hate us? And I said, no. I said, if you're giving them the details and it's stuff that
it's a lot
is interesting to people like us, then no, it's going to be great.
Yeah. It's going to be very, it's going to be very detailed. It's going to be so detailed that I'm going to put like a little trigger warning right now because we are going to be discussing in detail rape of both adult women and children, sexual assault, murder, and dismemberment. This is everything. Okay?
Don't love it.
Yeah, kidnapping. It's bad. All of the things. And the worst part of it is that almost all of the crimes that we will be discussing, we have horrifically graphic details about because these crimes were recorded on a home camcorder.
Oh, shit.
So there are people that have viewed these videos, okay? Obviously, the jury had to view the videos. I believe it was 3 times that they had to view all of these videos. And also, going to give a shout out to my main source for this one. It's called Invisible Darkness by Stephen Williams. There are rumors that he actually was able to view these videos, or at the very least read all of the transcripts, because the detail, he even lets you know what song was playing in the background of these crimes.
Oh shit.
It's so detailed.
All right, guys, I got to throw this out there. She just lifted up that book to show you, even though this is a podcast. That girl thick.
This is the first part, okay? I have notes in it. I wrote in this book. I fucking noted it. I'm on it.
I'm going to take a picture of that before I leave. And at some point, I'm going to post it up so they can see it.
I did. I put the work in.
Holy moly.
I put the work in.
God bless you. Usually I'm just on like Wikipedia.
I started going through websites, but I remember I read this book a long time ago. And then I went to go look for it and I couldn't find it. So I actually ordered it off of eBay. And it's really a great source for this case. Anybody who wants to read if you want to know more about this case, I would encourage reading Invisible Darkness, but it's also not for the faint of heart.
Take your Adderall, because again, she thick. She a thick book.
Yeah, yep. But yeah, like I cannot stress enough how disturbing this podcast series is going to be. So, I mean, those of you who know me well, you know that I live, breathe, and sleep true crime. Okay, it's my thing. I literally fall asleep to it at night.
I'm just here for the Starbies and chilies.
Yeah. I've been looking up pictures of dead bodies since the computer lab in middle school. When, we were given unmonitored access to the internet and sites like rotten.com were a thing.
Oh, the 90s.
Yeah.
We were all doing the same thing.
Yeah, the internet was the fucking Wild West. Okay, I think that's why a lot of us have like such a love for true crime, like millennials, because we saw some shit on the internet and no one paid attention.
Nope.
But that's okay. Now here we are.
We're here and we're doing it.
Yeah. I have a strong stomach when it comes to this stuff, and I have the ability to compartmentalize things in a way that, like, once I turn off the TV or I shut down my laptop or I close my book, I'm usually able to go about my day or night and not think about the true crime stories that I just spent hours consuming. But this case is not one of those cases. This is a case where I literally started dry heaving at one point when I was typing out the script for this. Like, I was typing it out and I was like, ugh. Like, just because one of the details in it was just so fucking foul and vile. And
are you going to tell us that detail?
Yeah, if you want to know the part where I dry heaved, I will absolutely tell you. But I'm sure you will probably be able to find out because it is fucking disgusting. Like, just on every level. Like, just the fact that a human being can do this to someone. I don't even know. No words, but...
Should we take a deep breath and a dad joke before we get into it?
Yeah, but I want to tell you one thing also. Okay. While I can't prove it, I'm fairly certain that I had a little verbal altercation on a Reddit thread with someone involved in this case. And I'll tell you about it in detail on the last part. So it'll be part 3 or part 4. So this is a little personal to me because I'm fairly certain that I made a comment about one of the people involved in this case. And I think that person saw the comment and responded and came after me.
Oh, shit. Mm-hmm. Well, I kind of want to hear that now. Turn the mic off and tell me right now. I'm just kidding.
Well, I'm going to wait because it's good. It's a good one. And again, I can't prove that this actually happened, but someone actually came to my defense on the Reddit thread. This was years ago. This was probably like, I don't know, at least 8 years ago. This was before my daughter was born. And they were like, oh, hey, nice to see you're back on the threads. Insert person's name. And then they deleted their entire account and everything. Wow. This person is also known to troll internet threads, even a parental like mommy board. And I'll get to that too.
Oh, shit. Okay.
Yep. Yeah. So, yeah, with that being said, to anyone listening, I totally understand if you can't finish any of the episodes in this series. If you need to tap out, please feel free to do so. Once you hear these details, you cannot unhear them. And I promise you, they will stick with you for life. This is a rough one, and listener discretion is strongly advised. I will do my best to try to lighten the mood with a sarcastic joke and dark humor, as I usually do, but please don't get it twisted. I understand the magnitude of this story, and I promise you I'm not trying to be disrespectful, but I'm going to need some humor in this because it's fucked, okay?
They probably will, too.
Yeah. You're going to hear some shit that's going to make you feel extremely uncomfortable. So, again... I'm going to try to be as respectful as possible to the victims, especially since some of them are still living. But this is heavy shit, so I apologize in advance for ruining your lives. This is your last chance to back out, okay? And 3, 2, 1. This is the story of Paul Bernardo and Karla Homolka, a.k.a. the Ken and Barbie killers.
Oh, shit. Dad joke?
Sure.
Why is it bad to iron a 4-leaf clover?
Why?
Because you shouldn't press your luck.
Oh, that was a good dad joke. I like that.
It was okay.
And St. Patrick's Day is coming up, right?
It is.
Yeah.
Oh, perfect. Bang, bang.
That was the best one. Yeah.
Nailed it.
Yeah. So, the Ken and Barbie killers, shockingly, these are not actually from the serial killer capital of the world, which is the United States of America. And don't come for me because the numbers don't fucking lie. Okay.
It's true.
We're the serial killer capital. All right.
We win. Or do we?
We do. Yeah. These two are from Canada. They're from Canada, eh? The land of the nice people.
I love Canada. We were just talking how much we love Canada.
We were, yeah. And I've never been there, but I want to go. I love Canadians. If we have any Canadian listeners, I'm pretty sure we do because I saw someone, at least one, in our stats. But please don't hate us, okay?
Yeah, we love you. Sorry.
Yeah, and I'm just going to leave it at that.
We're just going to say sorry.
We're sorry.
We're sorry.
We're sorry.
So, listen, I've been to Canada twice.
Yeah.
Fucking love it. It's beautiful.
Mm-hmm. It looks beautiful.
Like the Niagara Falls area.
Oh, yeah.
It's expensive, but it's awesome.
Yeah.
And then I played ice hockey in Canada with
Oh, that's cool.
I know, like the true Canadians. It was
that's awesome. I love that.
It was so much fun. It was a fun little tournament, and everybody I met was so nice. It held up true to what we hear over here in America. So
yeah, one of my favorite clients from one of the past law firms that I worked for a long time ago was Canadian, and he got hurt over here in the States while he was a hockey coach. He was the nicest client I've ever had.
Aww.
I still remember him. This was over a decade ago.
That's awesome.
Yes. Very, very nice people from my limited experience with them.
Yeah, so we won't judge anybody from Canada based on this story.
No, because most of the stories we talked about are from the United States. I mean, we know that our country's fucked. All right, we're not trying to hide that. Okay, we know. Paul Kenneth Bernardo was born on August 27, 1964, in Toronto, Canada, to mother Marilyn Bernardo and father Kenneth Walter Bernardo. It is said that Paul's mother screamed in horror at the first glimpse of her son because he had a huge, quote, grotesque birthmark that covered the entire left side of his face.
Okay.
Yeah. This birthmark actually turned out to be a large transient blood clot, which actually disappeared within a few weeks after his birth.
I know what they're called.
Yeah.
Hemangiomas.
Hemangiomas. Yeah. Paul.
Sorry, I was real excited.
No.
Woo,
medical terminology. Paul was described as a quiet and easy child, although he was also described by his mother in her diary as, quote, very selfish and stubborn. As Paul grew up, everyone all agreed that he was an absolutely beautiful child. Like, he had the blonde hair, the blue eyes. He was very talkative. He was very driven to succeed. And everyone just seemed to gravitate towards him. Things weren't too bad for Paul when he was a young child, but a lot of that changed when Paul was in 10th grade. And I think the biggest moment of his childhood was when his mother burst into his bedroom, threw down a photo of a random man, and told him that the man in the picture was his actual father, not Ken Bernardo, who he was named after. His mother then told him that he was a, quote, bastard, and that he may as well get used to it.
That sucks.
Uh-huh. So now we've got some mommy issues going on. Never a good thing with young men, as we've seen in prior episodes. After the brash confession from his mother, things in the Bernardo home went downhill really fucking quickly. Apparently Marilyn, his mother, had some kind of thyroid issue, which caused her to gain a lot of weight and become very obese. Ken Bernardo, who is now considered by Paul as his stepfather, because he's not his biological one, allegedly treated Marilyn very badly, called her a, quote, big fat cow and a bitch in front of the children.
Rude.
Yeah. And I guess he was so repulsed by her that he stayed in a different bedroom and, according to Paul, would run upstairs to her room in the middle of the night to, quote, have sex with it and then run right back down to his own room. So, yeah, you got a real fucked up family dynamic going on here.
That's something.
Yeah. Not the best representation of a healthy relationship. And we all know that this does huge damage to children. You know, seeing fucked up parental relationships, it doesn't really help them when they're in adulthood. So yeah, this didn't do any favors for Paul and how he treated women. Marilyn at this point was pretty much a recluse. She shut herself in her room. She would only buy food for herself, and then she would hide all of the food under the bed. She never cleaned, so they were living in complete squalor. And God forbid the man actually step it up and get his wife the mental health care that she needed, and also step in and take care of the children in the home. But I digress.
You know.
This all fell on Paul's sister, Debbie Bernardo. And all of this is backed up by Paul's childhood friends as well. They all said that they were absolutely shocked at the state of the home that he was living in, especially considering the fact that Paul was all about his looks and his image. Like, he dressed well, he presented very well. So when people came over to his house, they were like, what the fuck is even going on in here? And it's around this time that Paul's stepfather decides that he wants to become a peeping Tom. And one night, the police knocked on the Bernardo's door because a neighbor had called to report Ken peeping into her windows at 3 a.m. Ken denied it, and the police took a report, and left and did nothing about it. Now, at this point, Marilyn was just completely not there mentally or physically anymore. And her daughter, Debbie, Paul's sister, stepped up to the plate to handle cooking and cleaning responsibilities. Sadly, it was at this point that Ken also began sexually assaulting her, his own biological daughter.
Is this where you dry heaved? Because I just
no, this is not. This is bad, but this is just the tip of the iceberg. So poor Debbie would get up in the morning. She would cook. She would clean. She would make sure that her siblings were taken care of. She would go to school. She would come home. She would cook and clean again. And then at night, her father would sneak into her bedroom to sexually assault her. He would also peep into her window at night to watch her undress. Because remember, he was a peeping Tom too. He would do this to women in the neighborhood. He was known as a scumbag. But the police did nothing about it. At one point, Debbie told her mother what was going on, but her mother completely dismissed her and refused to believe her. Despite all the fuckery that was going on in the Bernardo home, Paul was determined to make something out of himself and become successful. Paul did eventually find out the name of his birth father, and he found out that he had his own insurance business and was pretty successful. But by all the research that I could find, Paul never reached out to his biological father, and they never had any kind of a relationship, according to my sources. I do think that this was kind of a trigger for Paul, and that this really made his narcissism snowball, because I think that even though he didn't know his father, he knew his father was a successful businessman, and he wanted to be better than his biological father. Like, I think he wanted to, like, really stick it to him. Like, yeah, you left me, but fuck you, I'm better than you.
I get that.
Yeah. Paul became very obsessed with money, and he did anything he could to get it. He had multiple jobs. He delivered newspapers. He got a couple of jobs as a server. He was a security guard. And everyone all said the same thing about Paul. He was a hard worker. Underneath the facade of the smart, determined, hardworking, good-looking, and charismatic man, there was a much darker side of Paul Bernardo. Paul began hanging out with 3 boys known as the Smirnis brothers, Van, Alex, and Steve. And the Smirnis brothers were, I guess, what you could call small-time criminals. Like, they would steal small things and just be overall dickheads. The 4 of them formed this little dipshit clique that would just be assholes together. And one of their favorite things to do was drive around looking for underage girls.
Gross.
Yeah. And there was no shortage of teenage girls interested in Paul Bernardo. To these girls, Paul was just the coolest guy ever. He had a car, he had a job, he had money, he was cute, and also he was a master in love bombing, which is another tool that narcissists use to manipulate women. Mm-hmm. And the reason that these men like to go for younger women like teenage girls is because they are, traditionally easier to manipulate. For one of his young girlfriends, Paul bought a t-shirt that read "Hands off" on the front and "Property of Paul" on the back, which he liked her to wear. Paul graduated high school in 1982, and it was right around this time that his parents separated and his mother moved into an apartment with only a mattress on the floor. And it doesn't seem like Paul really had much of a relationship with his mother after that. He kind of just went off and did his own thing with his buddies, the Smirnis brothers. And it was one of the Smirnis brothers that ended up introducing Paul to a 15-year-old girl named Jennifer. And I'm not going to use Jennifer's last name in this episode because Jennifer is still living, but she was also a victim of Paul. Like, she was absolutely a victim. Jennifer is 15 years old when she begins dating Paul, who, keep in mind, was 22 at the time. Gross. Okay. And I'm just going to take a moment to tell any of our young female listeners, because I'm fairly certain that we do have a couple young listeners here, and turn this up because you need to hear this, okay? This is for you, ladies. If you are 15 years old and a 22-year-old man comes knocking, you go running, okay? 22-year-old men have zero fucking business trying to date a 15-year-old girl.
Even if they seem cool or they seem like they have money.
Yeah.
And they love bomb you.
Yeah.
Look up the definition of love bombing and make sure that you are aware.
Yes, there is a reason that these types of men can't get a woman in their own age bracket. Don't fall for their shit. Thank you for coming to my TED Talk. So back to Jennifer, who I cannot stress enough is also a victim of Paul Bernardo. So don't be placing any blame on her for dating an older man. This is on him, not her.
Agreed.
Jennifer states that Paul had some really strange behavior that she eventually got used to, but it was still a little weird. He would apparently twitch and sniff a lot, which, like, this is the 80s at this point, so I'm wondering if he had some kind of a cocaine habit.
Cocaine?
Yeah, cocaine.
Riding that white pony.
Yeah, but who even knows? I mean, it's not like Paul would probably even fess up to that if that were the case, because he's a dickhead. But anyway, Paul also exhibited some very bizarre behavior around both midnight and 2 a.m. when he would get extremely sexually aggressive. And we're not just talking about a typical guy getting horny and trying to get some from his girlfriend. We're talking very aggressive and even violent sexual urges around midnight and 2 a.m.
That's strange.
It is strange. Yeah. Paul also got off on hurting and humiliating her, and he enjoyed dehumanizing her in any way possible. He would accomplish this by forcing her to engage in anal sex with him against her will, and also violently shoving wine bottles into her vagina during sex.
Stop.
This is what she was 15.
I can't.
There was also an incident that happened at a Halloween party at the home of one of the Smirnis brothers, in which Paul had Jennifer wear a super revealing Halloween costume. Again, she's fucking 15. Mm-hmm. And then humiliated her in front of everyone by ripping her coat off and pouring ice water all over her. He also tried to strangle her during a fight and even went as far as taking nude Polaroids of her in order to blackmail her if she ever decided to leave him. So she went to a church. He said that if she ever left him, he would distribute these naked Polaroids of her, which is child porn because she's fucking underage. Mm-hmm. And she would give them to the church folk and put them on the church bulletin board and all that shit.
I can't I can't.
I know.
Sorry.
It gets worse.
Just delete all that out. I can't.
No, it's fine. This
I hate people.
It's difficult to find words for some of this shit. This is not even. This is the tip of the iceberg. It gets so much fucking worse.
This is number one. This is episode 1.
I can't even tell you. I can't stress how bad this fucking gets. So all this was a stark contrast to Paul's external image. At this point, Paul was working at a high-end accounting firm called Price Waterhouse. He was making good money. He was wearing expensive clothes, and he just exuded a confidence and air about himself that I'm going to compare to Christian Bale's character, Patrick Bateman, in American Psycho. And Paul wasn't as bougie and refined as Patrick Bateman, but he strived to be just like him, even taking a liking to the novel American Psycho, written by Bret Easton Ellis. And if you've never read that book, don't, because it will ruin your fucking life. But if you want to get a good idea of what kind of a person Paul Bernardo tried to emulate, it was that character in American Psycho.
Was the movie similar to the book? Because I don't read.
The movie is similar to the book, but the book is so much worse. There was a lot of stuff in the movie that they couldn't do in the book because it was that bad.
Just the chainsaw scene.
That's not even the worst of it in the book. Yeah, I read the book. It took me a really long time to read that book because I had to keep putting it down and taking breaks from it. But yeah, just picture an 80s Wall Street fuckboy in a suit and you have Paul Bernardo. That's exactly what he was. And the funny thing I read in one of my sources was that Paul, I guess, had this little clique at Price Waterhouse, and the females there called them the MCPs, which stands for male chauvinist pigs. So very fitting.
I like that.
The MCPs.
MCPs.
Yep.
MCP. Yeah, you know me.
I was just thinking that.
Get out of my brain.
So Paul's got a great job, and now he's got not one, but two teenage girlfriends. In addition to Jennifer, Paul also began dating a girl named Lenore. Yeah. Weird. Also not going to name her last name. Like Jennifer, Paul treated Lenore like absolute dog shit. He physically and sexually abused her and even punished her one night for not being a virgin when he met her. And in true Paul form, he would absolutely brutalize her, and then he would apologize, shower her with love, shower her with gifts and affection in order to reel her back in. Again, textbook narcissist behavior. That's called love bombing. Once Jennifer found out about Lenore, that was pretty much the straw that broke the camel's back for her. She wanted out of that relationship, but Paul was not going to make it easy for her to leave. So this brings us to October 17th, 1987. Paul and Van is one of the Smirnis brothers, decided to go out on one of their normal hunts for teenage girls. They used to like do rides and look for underage girls. And it was through the window of a Howard Johnson's in Scarborough where Paul laid his eyes on a young girl with blonde hair and a big 80s perm named Karla Homolka. So now we're going to pivot to Little Miss Karla Homolka, who I fucking hate. Everybody has a serial killer that they hate the most. Mm-hmm. My two are Paul Bernardo and Karla Homolka. I fucking hate these two with a passion, specifically her. I fucking hate her. Hate. All right, yeah, we're gonna get into Karla because we need to get an idea of her background and who she is.
Yay.
Yeah, and this is important because she ends up being Paul Bernardo's literal partner in crime. She is the yin to his yang and the macaroni to his cheese. Blech.
Gross. Did she?
I don't know why I did that.
Did she say that?
No, I did, and I don't know why. I guess I was trying to be funny.
I loved it. It was hysterical.
No, it wasn't.
She is the macaroni to his cheese.
So Karla Leanne Homolka was born to parents Dorothy and Carol Homolka on May 4th, 1970 in Toronto. And from the jump, Karla was an overachiever. She was extremely intelligent, and she even walked and talked at a very early age. Family and friends stated that she was, quote, cute as a button. She was fun. She was a leader. She was outgoing. She had a ton of friends. She was very popular, and she loved animals, which she did end up making a career out of. Now, coming back to her group of friends used to call themselves the Diamond Club, and their only goal in life was to meet a rich older man and get engaged with a big diamond, reaching for the fucking stars. So yeah, Karla, she did gymnastics, she did dance, she did figure skating, and she was even in the drama club, which she's very fucking dramatic and a great actress. So yeah, she did well in the drama club, I'm sure. Yeah, one thing that bitch can do is bring the fucking drama.
I listen, you're going to have to re-record this whole thing so I can just video you because
Can you tell how much I hate specifically this fucking bitch?
She is heated. She's over there twitching and like moving in her seat.
Yeah, you guys are probably like, wait, like you're just talking about her as a child. She seems great. She's not. Just like Paul, Karla's interior was much different from her exterior. And Karla herself had a dark side that many people were not privy to. And this really came out when she was in high school. And it went past just the typical defiant teenager stage. Not helping matters at all was the fact that the Homolkas ran a very casual household with little to no rules. Karla was even allowed to drink alcohol as a teenager in the house. But yeah, Karla was really disrespectful to her parents, and she would regularly get into shouting matches with her father, where she would yell at him to fuck off, and she would call him, quote, a dumb Czech, because her father was Czechoslovakian. But bitch, you are too, so why are you calling him an ethnic slur? Like, the fuck?
Listen, I'm proud of you for saying Czechoslovakian on the first try because that was hard. I don't think I could have done that, and I'm proud of you.
I practiced. I even wrote it out because that's a fucking hard-ass word.
That's a word.
But anyway, I digress. Making matters worse in the Homolka household was the fucked up relationship between Karla's mother, Dorothy, and her father, Carol. Carol had a bad reputation around town for trying to have affairs with other women. And apparently he would try, but fail. Like, no one wanted to bang this dude, but he was steady trying. The women at Dorothy's work went as far as nicknaming her husband the pervert.
What? Okay.
That's how bad it was. Okay. You know there's a fucking problem if your work friends are calling your husband the pervert behind your back.
Yeah. Maybe to her face. She probably knew.
Yeah.
She knew. She knows.
You know what? She did know. And this is why. This is how I know she knew. Speaking of Dorothy's work, one of her former coworkers who she had befriended said that Dorothy propositioned her at work with a threesome because she said that Carol had a crush on her and perhaps a threesome would help save their marriage.
Yeah, that's going to work.
The coworker declined.
Good.
Can't imagine why. So while all of this was going on with her parents, we have Karla, who is now dabbling in the occult, which in and of itself is not a problem per se. She played with Ouija boards. She dressed in all black. She started wearing super heavy makeup. She was in her goth era. I feel like we all went through that.
Yeah.
You know, I'm not going to fault her for that. I feel like we all did that to some extent in the 80s and 90s. Like, that was a thing. It was like the craft culture. Like, remember when the craft came out and everybody was like, I'm a witch now. You know?
Great movie.
Oh, my God.
Great movie.
Classic. Yeah, can't fault her for that. But she did start to get a reputation for being a little weird. At one point, Karla walked up to a friend in the cafeteria and whispered in her ear, "You know what I'd like to do? I'd like to put dots all over somebody's body and then take a knife and then play connect the dots and then pour vinegar all over them."
Oh, shit.
You know, just girly things. So yeah, this goes a little bit beyond the traditional goth phase, and it weirded people out, to say the least.
I don't know why.
Yeah, just walking up to somebody randomly in the school cafeteria, like when you're getting your fucking cheese fries or whatever, and she's like, "I want to cut someone up and put vinegar on them."
Look, it's Cheese Pizza Friday, and she's fucking ruining it for everybody.
She is a fucking life ruiner, I'll tell you that. I hate this bitch.
We know.
Can you tell?
We're all going to hate her, I think, at the end of this.
Everyone. If you don't fucking hate her, then you are her. Okay. Karla Homolka is literally the most hated woman in Canada. For Canadians to hate you, it means you're a really bad person. I can't even say that with a straight face.
Oh, God.
Considering what's going on right now in the world. But I'm going to say it again.
She's cry laughing over there.
I'm going to say it again. If Canadians hate you, you're a real piece of shit.
Yeah, America.
Jesus Christ.
I'm just going to stare out into the abyss on this one.
Yeah, so despite lots of kids at school thinking that Karla was a fucking weirdo, she still did have friends. And a boy by the name of Doug took a liking to her. Doug said that he was into the whole moody persona. He liked it. He said that Karla was absolutely obsessed with death and that she would constantly threaten to commit suicide if she didn't get her way. If somebody didn't give her what she wanted, she was like, "I'm going to kill myself." But yeah, Karla, she loved being edgy, and that's evident from a yearbook entry for one of her friends. Karla signed the yearbook with the quote, "Suicide kicks and fasting is awesome. Bones rule. Death rules. Death kicks. I love death. Kill the fucking world." This is a high school student.
Was kicks a term, or was that like fetch? She's like trying to make it happen.
I don't even know. Kicks is never going to happen. Never.
Dibs.
Yeah. So that's what she wrote in someone's yearbook. Also, I would love to have that fucking yearbook. That's a cool piece of serial killer memorabilia. Yes, Karla's a serial killer. I'm gonna say that again. This will all make sense in the last episode of this. This will all make sense. I have a personal vendetta against this bitch. So,
yeah.
I'm sure you can probably see where I'm going with this, but
none of us could tell.
This will all make sense in the end. I fucking promise you. So, you know, in keeping up with her like whole edgy thing, I don't know how, but she got a hold of real heavy duty police officer handcuffs, and she just thought this was the fucking coolest thing. She was a high school kid using handcuffs during sex. Like she was really fucking cool.
You know.
Yeah. And
edgy.
Yeah, and she also she kicks.
She kicks nothing.
Yeah.
She
can kick fucking rocks.
There you go.
That was such a boomer thing to say, but whatever. It fits.
Don't care.
It fits.
Let's bring that back. Go kick rocks.
Go kick rocks.
Because it hurts your feet. So,
Yep.
Yeah.
Weird little fun fact. Karla apparently at one point had aspirations to become a police officer, which is real fucking laughable considering how she ends up. But I digress. Yeah, but she continued to just do like weird off the wall shit. Like she booked a plane ticket to fly to the United States and meet up with an old boyfriend that had moved away. She did this without her parents knowing. Again, she was underage, so I have no idea how she was even able to get a plane ticket out of the country, but she did. Apparently she met up with this guy, did cocaine with him, and yeah, again, this was in high school. When she got back, she told her friends that she had a sadistic orgy with him and that they engaged in bondage and all kinds of like weird things. But her ex-boyfriend denies any of this and says that it was just plain old boring vanilla sex.
Straight up missionary, bruh.
Cool story, Karla. By this time, Karla reached her senior year of high school and she was bored. She ended up landing a job at number 1 pet center because, remember, she loved animals and she was doing really well in her new position.
If she hurts an animal, I swear to God, I'm going to fly to Canada and find her and not do anything because I am a sane adult. Never mind.
But yeah, she was doing really good in her position, so much so that she was actually invited to attend a pet industry convention in Toronto with her coworker and friend Debbie Purdy in October of 1987. And it's here where the stories of Paul Bernardo and Karla Homolka collide in the Hojos.
Hojos.
The Hojos. So back to the night of October 17th, 1987, Karla and Debbie are eating at the Hojos when 2 grown-ass men approach them, Paul Bernardo and Van Smirnis. And both Debbie and Van have said that when Karla and Paul first laid eyes on each other, it was like the world shooketh. Like they were instantly obsessed with each other. Karla even went as far as saying that she knew she would marry Paul immediately after meeting him. Like she just looked at him and was like, we're getting married. But yeah, Paul and Karla, they wasted exactly 0 fucking time with each other. Paul and Van were invited up to Karla and Debbie's room. And remember, again, Karla is underage at this time. Paul and Karla proceeded to straight up go at it all night while Debbie and Van were in the room with them, just trying to sit there and ignore what the fuck was going on in the other bed. Van and Debbie weren't feeling each other, so they just had to awkwardly fucking sit there while these two just went at it like jackrabbits.
Gross.
I know. Ugh. At one point, Van asked to join in because it had always been a dream of his to have Paul's sloppy seconds. But Paul really took a liking to Karla, and Paul told Van to, quote, have a go at himself instead, which is a very Canadian way of saying, go fuck yourself.
Have a go at yourself.
Literally. Go fuck yourself, eh? So after their super romantic night that they spent wholesomely falling in love with each other, Paul went into full-on love bombing mode. He bought her pretty much anything she wanted. He drove her places. He held doors open for her. He was a complete gentleman, and he charmed the pants off of Karla's family. But there was one small problem. Well, 2 small problems, really. Paul at the time, still had 2 other girlfriends. So when he met Karla, he was dating both Jennifer and Lenore. So he had 3 teenage girlfriends at the same time. And he was just going hard on the love bombing with Karla. Like, he even told her he was going to propose to her.
Well, she knew it. She called it.
Yeah. I mean, it's a great catch. On November 13, 1987, not even 1 whole month after he met Karla, Paul graduated from the University of Toronto. Instead of inviting the new love of his life and future wife, Karla, to his graduation, he invited one of his other girlfriends, Jennifer, to attend the event with his parents. After the graduation ceremony, Paul and Jennifer went out for drinks, where Jennifer presented him with his graduation gift, which was a nice sweater that she thought would be, a good look for him to wear to his job,
Fancy.
Yeah. Instead of, appreciating the fucking gift, Paul went on an embarrassingly loud tirade for the whole bar to hear and began ranting and raving about how Jennifer was a slut who let men stick their salamis in her. That is a direct quote. He started yelling that she let men, quote, stick their salamis in her. Can you imagine this dumb fuck at a bar just screaming, "You let men stick salamis in you"?
Their salamis. Listen, if anybody called a dick a salami, I would probably just smack them in the face or just walk away.
Yeah.
Salami.
Salami. Yeah.
See, and I'm sorry to interrupt. I know
it's
you were
fine.
going back into it, but
go ahead.
I know that you said there was one portion that you dry heaved at.
There's a lot that you're almost dry heaving.
A lot already. And we're not even into like the case yet, are we?
No. We're not.
All right.
I think you'll know the point that I dry heaved. I'll let you know. I might dry heave or reading it. I almost dry heave thinking about it.
I'm going to need some ginger ale.
That's going to be a hard one to get through, man. Okay.
All right. You got this. You got this. All right. Okay. Sorry to digress again. Per usual.
No, you're fine. We need to have breaks with this one because this one's fucked. So yeah, Paul continued to loudly berate her for daring to only give him a lowly sweater as a graduation gift. And remember, she's a fucking teenager. It's not like she's got a bunch of money to be buying him all kinds of shit. Like, shut up, Paul.
What an asshole.
He then got so pissed off that he left her sitting at the bar and then went outside and aggressively did donuts in the parking lot in his car. I'm so mad. This part makes me extra laugh because there was a guy that I went on one date with. I don't know if I ever told you about this, but I went on one date with him and I was honest with him and I was like, I see us more as friends. Like, I don't really have like those kind of feelings for you. I'm sorry. This was in my early 20s. Yeah. And he was pissed. Okay. Because I dared to, tell him that I didn't want to date him. Right.
You friend zoned him.
Yeah. So, I don't know. Anybody who's local knows that Main Street in Newark used to be the huge hangout and people would like show off their cars there.
Park at the Burger King.
Yes. And that's where this happened.
Oh, man.
So, my friend had an Eclipse. Remember Eclipses? Mm-hmm. Yeah. And it had the lights underneath. It looked like Fast and Furious car. Like, yeah. And everybody just parked at that Burger King and we all just like admired everyone's cars and bullshitted and all that. So this guy, he drove a huge truck and he found me in the Burger King parking lot and he started doing donuts in front of everyone because he was mad that I was there. There, for the longest time, there were still marks like in the parking lot.
I can't.
From him doing donuts.
I don't understand how doing donuts in your car.
It's like, I'm mad. I'm going to go do fucking donuts to show you how mad I am.
When? Let me drive my car in a circle.
Boys really do that. I've seen it. I don't even know.
I mean, we would do donuts like in the snow for fun.
As jokes. Like, you wouldn't get so mad that you had to do a donut.
I wasn't mad because there was like ice on the ground that the car wouldn't spin. Like, what?
This girl doesn't want to date me. This girl pissed me off. I'm going to do fucking donuts. I need to show everyone how fucking mad I am.
I don't know why I made a fart noise. That was my donut noise. Like the car going.
Because that's probably what his car sounded like.
I bet.
He strikes me as someone who back then would have driven like a lawnmower car. I don't know.
The one that missing the muffler. And it's
yeah, because they want it to be louder so they can announce to everyone that they're, approaching. So, yeah, Jennifer went outside and saw him doing donuts, and she was like, fuck this, I'm done.
Smart.
It probably gave her the ick. She probably saw him doing donuts. And so, can you imagine his face doing donuts, like aggressively donutting in the parking lot?
So, I mean,
I feel like that would turn me off so bad.
I mean, same, but how long? That was what gave her the ick?
I'm saying, I guess the donuts were the final straw. I don't know.
I mean, good on you, girl. Good on you to at least find something that was gross enough to leave.
Yeah. I mean, I think honestly, in her defense, I think she was already like really over it, but I think that she stayed with him because he was blackmailing her with naked pictures.
Oh, yeah.
I'm making light of this situation, but honestly, she probably felt like she was stuck in that relationship.
Yeah, you're right.
He was blackmailing her.
Forgot about that already.
Yeah. So, at this point, she was like, fuck this, I'm done. And she broke up with him. It's good for her. But things didn't really go so well. Paul agreed to the breakup, and he was playing nice. He, I guess, got all the aggression out with the donuts, and he insisted on driving her home as kind of a peace offering. Okay. Because he's too much of a gentleman to leave her stranded at a bar with no ride, right? So as soon as she gets in the car, he locks all the doors, and he starts beating the shit out of her. Jennifer says that at every red light, he would grab her by the hair and beat on her. So this is what she gets for daring to try to break up with him.
I mean,
yeah.
I can't.
He then drove her to an isolated parking lot and pulled out a knife. Luckily, she was able to get away by running off into the woods, but this was only because Paul accidentally dropped the knife in between the seats, and then I guess he was like stumbling around to find it, and she was able to get away at the time.
Thank God.
Had he not dropped the knife, Jennifer probably would be dead. It's reported that Paul actually tried to contact Jennifer after this event and even offered to propose to her with a big diamond ring to make up for it, but her father was like, nope.
Nah, bruh.
And that was the end of that. Yeah, he also broke up with Lenore because I guess Lenore went fucking crazy on him when she found out that he was dating Jennifer. And then there was some kind of altercation at Paul's house where Lenore showed up. Jennifer was there, and Lenore, I guess, like punched a door out and had to like have stitches in her hand. And
then went into the parking lot and did donuts in her car.
Yeah, like that. Y'all are fighting over this, dude. Come on. So Lenore dropped his ass. Other two girls are out of the picture, so now Paul's free to just focus himself entirely on Karla. And it was one night during kinky sex with Karla's handcuffs that Paul dropped a bomb on her and said, "What would you think if I was a rapist?" And without missing a beat, Karla smiles at him and says, "I would think it was cool." And thus the fairy tale of Paul Bernardo and Karla Homolka officially begins.
I can't.
And this is where it gets real. This is where... Anyway, this is where it really...
It starts. Yeah. Like, yeah, okay. And stay tuned for next season of...
Oh, I'm not done yet.
Christina's eye twitching.
Yeah, I'm not done yet. On Wednesday, December 16th, 1987, a 15-year-old girl is walking home from the bus stop when none other than Paul Bernardo comes up behind her and ambushes her. He drags her in between the homes of two of her neighbors and proceeds to brutally rape her for almost 2 hours. While all this is going on, Paul does this weird thing that all of his victims have testified to. He talks the entire time. He asks her to confirm that she's underage. So, like, asks her how old she is, asks her what school she goes to, asks her if she has a boyfriend, what her boyfriend's like. And then he makes her call herself derogatory names like slut, things like that. The oddest thing is that he tells her to wish his penis a Merry Christmas and continues talking about Christmas. Like, makes repeated comments. Now, to some people, this may seem really weird and random, but I'm going to tell you exactly why he does this. It's important to note that aggressors do things like this to their victims as a means of psychological torture, because now anytime she thinks about Christmas or hears the phrase Merry Christmas, she's immediately going to associate that with Paul's brutal attack on her.
Oh, I hate this guy.
That's why he did it.
I was thinking he was going to say like, oh, Merry Christmas, Shalami. But like, that's not.
He does that so that every time Christmas is ruined for her. Every time she hears that, she's going to think of that rape. It's psychological manipulation.
Wow.
Yeah.
I can't.
Yeah. So that just goes to show you what a disgusting, despicable, completely vile piece of shit Paul Bernardo is. Like, he's fucking awful. Like, what kind of monster do you even have to be to do some shit like that, to purposely try to like rewire someone's brain so that they associate something as wholesome as Christmas with him? So before he lets this girl go, he goes through her wallet, he finds her ID with her address, and threatens that if she ever tells anybody, he knows exactly where she lives and he will come after her. In the end, she decides to report the rape to the police anyway. While she is telling the police officer what happened to her, the officer immediately remembers that there had been 3 other sexual assaults between the months of May and July in the same exact area of Scarborough that this rape had taken place. And they were also very similar.
Okay.
The assailant had followed the girls home from the bus stop, sexually assaulted them. He was very well groomed. All of the women said that, you know, he looked nice, he smelled good, didn't come across as like the typical criminal type.
Yeah.
So investigators are starting to connect the dots, but they don't have anything just yet. Just a couple of days after the attack of the 15-year-old girl, a woman gets off of the bus in Scarborough. So this is in the same area. And she is approached and sexually assaulted by Paul Bernardo. During this attack, Paul had the woman say phrases like, "I'm a cunt, Merry Christmas," and "I love you, Merry Christmas," over and over and over again. And again, this is an attempt on Paul's end to psychologically torture these women for the rest of their lives. Now, this woman was also let go by Paul, and she was able to give a very detailed description of her attacker. She told police that the man was white, 6 feet tall, 180 pounds, blondish collar-length hair. He was clean-shaven. He had a slightly crooked nose. He had a small mole on his face, and he was driving a white Capri. Unfortunately, the police department decided not to go public with this information because they feared that every woman would be calling in, reporting their husbands, boyfriends, whatever, because the description was pretty much a generic Canadian white man. So this brings us to Christmas 1987. Paul and Karla are completely infatuated with each other at this point. And Paul now comes to visit Karla at her parents' house every weekend, and he ends up actually spending the night and staying every weekend. The parents actually started calling him their weekend son. Again, this is so weird because she's underage and he's 22. Is that not weird?
It is very weird. Yes. I mean, to just think that's normal for your child. Like that's...
And letting him sleep over every week. I don't know. I'm not trying to judge, but also I'm kind of judging.
Well, you said that they didn't have any rules in the house.
Yeah, but it's like I have a daughter, and I'm sorry, but I'm never letting my 15-year-old daughter have a 22-year-old boyfriend and then stay in my house. Are you kidding?
Absolutely not. No.
So for Christmas, Paul bought Karla lavish gifts to impress her and her family, including a dress that cost $300, which in 2025 would be the equivalent to an almost $900 dress. This is a high school girl. He got her an expensive necklace, and he also bought her a Gund brand teddy bear, which I guess apparently was a really expensive brand of teddy bears in the 80s.
They, you could get them at like the Hallmark store and stuff like that. I remember those bears.
Were they kind of like Boyd's bears?
Just like Boyd's bears.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay.
Like the legs and the arms moved.
Gotcha.
I think you can still find them.
Probably. I mean, it wouldn't surprise me. But yeah, he gave her this bear, and she named it Bunky. And remember Bunky because Bunky makes a couple appearances.
Oh, fuck's sake.
Mm-hmm. So Karla, for Christmas, gives him one of those lover's coupon things. Like, you know, those stupid gift certificate. Yeah, those gift certificate things that poor people give each other for Valentine's Day.
I gave some.
There you go. I'm just going to give you a fucking coupon for a massage.
I gave some of them before.
Were you poor?
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I'm saying.
Like high school.
That was... Yeah, that's what I would do like in high school. Like, here's a coupon for a date night. I don't know. That's actually how Karla talks. And I'm going to do a dramatic reenactment of one of her letters in the next episode. And it's going to be awesome.
I'm excited.
She talks like that. I've watched interviews. She talks like this in that really girly, innocent girl voice.
And is that why they call her the Barbie killer?
Yeah. And also because she has like blonde hair and she's skinny and tan and she thinks she's a Barbie doll.
She wishes, but she never got the boobies.
But yeah, so on this gift certificate, Karla wrote, upon presentation of this coupon. Actually, I'm going to do this in her voice.
Do it.
Karla writes, upon presentation of this coupon, Karla Lynn Homolka will perform sick, perverted acts upon Paul Kenneth Bernardo. These acts may be chosen by the recipient of the coupon. And I'm telling you, after you listen to this, go watch her interviews and tell me she doesn't sound like that.
I believe you.
Normally, I wouldn't put a stupid detail like this into a podcast episode because it really doesn't even fucking matter. But this detail to me is interesting because his other girlfriend gave him a nice, expensive sweater for his graduation, and that motherfucker popped off and shit all over it at a bar.
Donuts. Let's not forget those.
Yeah, and did donuts in the motherfucking parking lot. And Karla gives him this dumbass handwritten certificate thing that she probably made on a piece of fucking construction paper with some, like, fucking glitter glue.
Lisa Frank stickers.
Probably. And he's totally okay with that. I digress. It's just, I just hate these people so fucking much.
Do you? I can't tell. I haven't noticed. No one listening has noticed either.
So anyway, remember Paul's ex-girlfriend, Jennifer? Well, Paul still owed her a pretty considerable amount of money that Jennifer loaned him, and she wanted her money back. Like, I get it. So Paul apparently was writing Jennifer checks that were bouncing, and she was getting fed up. So she went to the police in January of 1988, and she did tell officers about the violent attack the night of November 13th, but stated that she did not want to press charges on him for that. She just wanted her money back. So the officer goes to write up a report, but before that, he decides to run Paul's name in the system because there's a small detail that he remembers from a prior rape case in Scarborough. The fact that the Scarborough rapist, because he's done so many rapes at this point that he's got a name. The Scarborough rapist. That's who Paul Bernardo was before he met Karla. The Scarborough rapist drove a white Capri. And Jennifer told police that Paul Bernardo drove a white Capri. So a light bulb goes off above his head and he runs Paul's name in the system.
Smart.
That's the only smart thing that this guy does.
Oh.
There were 3 prior complaints on file, all involving Jennifer, but nothing had ever come from any of these complaints. So no arrests or anything. So this officer, whose name's Sergeant Kevin McNiff, writes up a whole ass 5-page report and then dates it January 5th, 1987, instead of the actual date, January 5th, 1988. So then the report's misfiled and ignored. Paul and Karla's relationship deepened, and the two continued seeing each other regularly and passing love notes to each other. In one of the letters, Karla begs Paul for forgiveness for not being a virgin before they met, and then signs it with, "You're the best, you big bad businessman, you." And again, anyone who's seen the movie American Psycho knows that this is pretty much a verbatim quote from it. But it actually originates from the movie Wall Street with Michael Douglas. And Karla and Paul were obsessed with that movie too. They were obsessed with anything that had to do with, like, you know, rich white men in suits on Wall Street. Like, that's what Paul wanted to be. And yeah, Paul began modeling himself after the lead character, Gordon Gekko, and Karla began refining her wardrobe and dyeing her hair platinum blonde to match this dream girl fantasy that Paul had. Because again, Paul's a narcissist, and narcissist men love to have beautiful women by their side because it makes them look good.
Right.
So gone was the goth girl, and now Paul had a beautiful blonde bombshell on his arm. This, however, was never enough for Paul Bernardo, and he continued preying on, assaulting, and raping women. And he would even do this on his way home from a weekend at Karla's parents' house in St. Catharines. So one night when he's leaving Karla's parents' home, he attacks a woman by the name of Jean Baxter. He does the same thing to her that he did to his previous victims. He viciously rapes them. He makes them say disgusting things, and then he leaves without killing them. After the attack, Jean went straight to the Peel Regional Police Department to report the incident. And this is where they were able to get that fucking awesome composite drawing of the Scarborough rapist. And I'm going to go ahead and say that this is the best fucking composite sketch of a perpetrator that I've ever seen in my entire life.
Are you being serious or sarcastic?
I'm being dead ass serious.
Okay.
It is spot on dead ringer for Paul Bernardo. Everyone take a moment to Google side-by-side images of Paul Bernardo and the Scarborough rapist composite sketch. It is fucking uncanny, and I hope that the artist got a huge raise years later after they caught him. He does get caught, but it's not for a while. It looks exactly fucking like him.
Shit, it really does.
Most composite sketches are not good.
Wow.
That is like if you sat Paul Bernardo in a fucking chair and drew him, I mean, it's him.
It really is.
Unfortunately, since this assault occurred in St. Catharines and not Scarborough, police did not relate this attack to the others. So they did not think that it was the Scarborough rapist. While all this is going on, Paul and Karla are still going strong and letting their freak flags fly. Unlike Paul's prior girlfriends, Karla was straight up willing to do anything with him. Like any kind of deviant sex act that he wanted, she did. Like sticking wine bottles up her vagina.
You know, the
usual, yeah. Allowing Paul to take pornographic pictures of her while she was underage. And she would also do cutesy things like naming Paul's penis Snuffles, which is apparently after the Sesame Street character Snuffleupagus. Just when you think that these people can't get any more fucking insufferable, she names a penis Snuffles. I'm going to just pause there so y'all can digest that.
So Snuffleupagus was always my favorite Sesame Street character. And
you're welcome for ruining it. You're welcome. Because if I have to hear this shit, y'all do too. Paul ended up taking Karla to her senior prom, where a huge fight broke out when Karla decided to hit some guy named Greg on the head with her purse. And then when Greg went to hit her back, Paul stepped in. This caused everybody to jump Paul's ass, and he got his ass beat by these high school kids.
Get it, kids.
And this was both embarrassing to him, and it also pissed him off. The brawl was so bad that police had to be called to come break it up, and Paul was so pissed off and so embarrassed that he was actually going to press charges on these high school kids. But one of the boys that beat the shit out of him was the son of a police officer. So you can imagine how that turned out. In 1989, the Scarborough rapist, aka Paul, reemerged, and the sexual assaults continued, but increasingly became more and more brutal. Paul also began identifying himself as the Scarborough rapist to his victims. So it was becoming a little easier to connect the crimes because, you know, he was raping these women and straight up saying, I'm the Scarborough rapist. As a result, they appointed an officer named Steve Irwin. I know.
Stop. It's like all my favorite things, and I hate this.
And Steve Irwin worked the Scarborough rapist case full time.
Crikey!
Yeah, because they wanted to get this solved. I mean, this shit was getting out of hand.
Yeah.
So Karla graduates high school and lands a job at a veterinary clinic as like a secretary / assistant / whatever. But she leaves this job fairly quickly after landing it because she was accused of stealing ketamine from the clinic. So keep that little fact in the back of your mind. December of 1989, Karla was hired at the Martindale Animal Clinic as a health technician, and her position gave her exclusive access and control of the drug registry. Again, keep that in the back of your mind as well. Once Karla got this new job, Paul decided to quit his prestigious job at Price Waterhouse and began his career as a professional cigarette smuggler, smuggling cigarettes in from the United States and into Canada. And he did this with the Smirnis brothers. Those three pieces of shit. So they have this like stupid cigarette smuggling gang. I don't know.
Insert blank stare.
Yeah. Paul also started a little side hustle with one of his friends where they picked and sold worms. But Karla was okay with this because on December 9, 1989, Paul took Karla on a romantic trip to Niagara Falls and proposed to her with a diamond ring in a glass unicorn music box in the middle of an elf-sized Christmas village. And I'm sorry for ruining unicorns for you because I saw that look on your face. I'm just ruining everything for you. I'm so sorry. But if things have to be ruined for me, they have to be ruined for you too. Okay? We're like one.
That's fair. However, now I regret saying Lisa Frank stickers because that's like the one thing I had left.
But you know what, though? We don't know if she used those. But so that's still safe.
She did. She did, though.
But yeah, shout out to Paul Bernardo for ruining unicorns, Christmas, and Snuffleupagus because we can't ever have nice fucking things.
Yeah, fuck you.
So now that we're in the month of December, and we know that the Scarborough rapist just loves Christmas time, Detective Steve Irwin decides to send a decoy to the Scarborough area to try to lure him in. Now, the decoy didn't get any hits, but true to form, the Scarborough rapist makes an appearance on the night of December 21st, 1989, when he sexually assaults a woman in the parking garage of an apartment complex. And this is where shit takes a turn, because not only does the victim describe the Scarborough rapist, but also states that there was a woman in attendance who was filming the assault with a video camera. Luckily for investigators, they were beginning to gather quite a bit of evidence from these attacks, including DNA samples. Because this is late 80s, early 90s. DNA samples were a thing.
It's starting.
So this brings us to January 1990. Paul accepts a job offer at an accounting firm in Toronto and signs on for $34,000 a year, which would be roughly $83,000 by today's standards. So that's pretty good for a guy in his early 20s just starting out in his career. $83,000 a year.
That's not terrible.
No. But for Paul, this simply wasn't going to cut it. Paul and Karla had set a date for their wedding. It was going to be June 29, 1991. And this was going to be a lavish wedding because, you know, Paul, he bougie. Mm-hmm. And he knew that in order to fund this wedding, he was going to need to make more money than that. And he felt that he could make more money with his side hustles. So yeah, this is when he goes real hard with the worm picking business where they pick and sell worms.
I mean, if there's money in that, I'll go pick and sell worms.
Right?
Shit.
So he's doing that. And then he's also, he's without a job. So he decided to file and live off of unemployment. So, yeah. Also around this time, Paul began listening to motivational speaker Tony Robbins. And Paul felt that he too would become a good motivational speaker. Oh, so he began ordering Tony's tapes in an attempt to rip off his material and become a famous Canadian version of Tony Robbins.
Awesome.
Spoiler alert, doesn't work.
Thank God.
Yeah. So he continues his cigarette smuggling business with the dumbass Smirnis brothers and lives off the Canadian government. His little cigarette smuggling heist got pretty big though, and he was soon making twice as much money with this side hustle than he was working at the accounting firm. So, I mean, yeah, he's making money. As 1990 progresses, so does the victim count of the Scarborough rapist. And on May 29, 1990, the composite drawing of the Scarborough rapist was finally released to the public, and a $150,000 reward for information leading to his arrest was offered. And as soon as this composite sketch of the Scarborough rapist hit the newspapers in Toronto, immediately people were like, dude, that's Paul Bernardo.
They saw it.
They saw it and they knew it. And people started calling in and giving his name. And you know who one of the people was that called in Paul as a suspect? The wife of one of the Smirnis brothers. I thought that was pretty funny.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So police eventually got around to tracking down Paul Bernardo for questioning. And he was invited to the police department for an interview. He was very charming, and he was essentially able to talk himself out of any suspicions by saying that he was good looking. He had a beautiful fiance. He always had a lot of girlfriends. He didn't have any reason to rape anybody. And the Canadian police were like, yeah.
Sounds fair.
Yeah. Officers found him very polite. They found him very credible, but they did ask him to leave a DNA sample so that they could rule him out. And shockingly, Paul gave the sample, no questions asked, and then walked out after only 45 minutes of questioning. Despite being totally calm at the police station, Paul showed up to Karla's house freaking the fuck out, telling her that he was questioned in the Scarborough rapist case. And at this point, Karla was already well aware that her fiance was the Scarborough rapist and was probably even assisting him, or at the very least, tagging along with him to film the attacks. Because remember, at least one of the victims said there was a female there videotaping it. She even had the dates of every single attack written in her wedding planner.
Oh, man.
So yeah, she was well aware that Paul was raping other women, and she was also aware of who Paul's ultimate victim was. And it was, are you ready for this? Karla's 15-year-old sister, Tammy Lynn Homolka.
What? Her baby sister?
Yes. Instead of having the normal reaction to your fiance telling you that he wants to rape your teenage sister and fucking leaving him and also reporting him to the police, Karla decides that she wants to help her fiance achieve his ultimate fantasy and give her sister Tammy Lynn's virginity to him as a gift. Because, after all, Paul was still salty about the fact that Karla wasn't a virgin when they met. He hadn't gotten the opportunity to take her virginity, so he felt that Karla owed him. It's also important to note that at this point, Paul was doing everything he could to try to drive a wedge between the sisters. He was doing anything and everything he could to make Karla jealous of her little sister. Paul would have Tammy Lynn sit on his lap. He would shower her with attention. He would tell her that she was more beautiful than Karla. He would take her out on car rides and not return for hours. He would buy alcohol for her and her friends. He would buy her gifts. He would talk about Tammy to Karla constantly. I mean, he was laying it on thick. He wanted to make Karla feel some type of way against her sister. And Karla already had a bug up her ass about her sister because the Homolkas clearly favored Tammy Lynn. She was the favorite child. Everyone knew it. And Karla was jealous. She was jealous even before Paul came into the picture. So Karla knew she had to take control of this situation. And she decided to kind of ease into things by breaking blinds in Tammy's bedroom so that Paul could videotape her undressing, and then gradually graduating to things like sneaking into Tammy's room and having sex on her bed while Karla acted like her 15-year-old sister during sex. This is all on video. They recorded all of this. When this wasn't doing enough to satisfy Paul, Karla knew that she had to go to greater measures to please her man. And this is when they began drugging Tammy. They did things like crushing up Valium and putting it in her food and also in her alcoholic beverages to sedate her. And this wasn't enough because apparently the dosages they were giving her wasn't enough to fully sedate her for Paul to be able to successfully rape her. Since the Valium wasn't working, Karla knew she needed to use something stronger. So she decided on a combination of halcyon and halothane, which she could easily obtain from the veterinary clinic that she worked at. So Karla decided that she was going to steal the drugs from her job, and she was going to use the halcyon pills to crush up and place into her sister's drink at their family Christmas party. And she figured that this would sedate Tammy enough for Paul to begin the assault. And then Karla would use a halothane-soaked rag, which she would place on Tammy's face to keep her knocked out during the attack. I also found it very interesting that in all of this, the thing that bothered Karla the most was having to steal the drugs from her job. Not the fact that she was helping plan out the rape of her sister. Stealing from her job was what she was most worried about. It's important to note that Karla was the mastermind behind the lead up to the attack. Karla determined what drugs they would use. Karla is the one who obtained the drugs. Karla is the one who used her medical knowledge of the sedation of animals during surgery, and she was pretty confident that she would be able to monitor Tammy's breathing and distribute just the right amount of halothane in conjunction with the halcyon. But as smart as Karla was, she seemed to forget one huge detail regarding sedation and surgery. You're not supposed to have anything in your stomach, right?
Correct.
This detail was, however, completely overlooked by Karla and ends up really biting her in the ass in the end, and you'll see why in a minute. So now, you know that Paul loves Christmas, and this year was no exception. Not only was he going to have the virginity of his 15-year-old future sister-in-law as a Christmas gift, he also bought himself an expensive Sony video camcorder. And the reason for this purchase is that he wanted a top-of-the-line camcorder to film the rape of Tammy Lynn. So now we are going to get into the video aspect of this case. And again, I was able to read a couple books, one of them being Invisible Darkness by Stephen Williams. A lot of people believe that he viewed these tapes before they were destroyed, or at the very least saw the transcripts of the videotapes, because he goes into detail. I will say that there are some clips available on a couple of documentaries, which I will cite in our sources, but it's only the very clean, very tame footage. But you can see certain clips of the footage from that night that Tammy was attacked. The footage of the rapes and murders has allegedly been destroyed and no longer exists. Only the jury and a few other people have seen all of the footage of the actual videos, and they're bad. Like, bad. Like, imagine bad and then times that by 1,000,000. So yeah, I'm going to be describing some pretty gnarly fucking stuff, so buckle your seatbelts. All right, so the Christmas Eve tape begins with shots of the family just laughing and joking around. Karla and her sister Lori did the extreme close-up thing from Wayne's World. So they're like going extreme close-up. Whoa. Remember that?
Yeah.
Everyone was drinking that night, including Tammy. And at one point, Tammy is so drunk that she asks Paul why he has 2 cameras. So like he's holding one. She's got double vision at this point. So she's pretty drunk.
Oh.
And remember, on top of all the alcohol Tammy is consuming, Paul and Karla also put crushed up halcyon in her drinks. So, yeah. One of the most haunting parts of the beginning of this video is that Tammy Lynn looks dead into the camera and says, "These guys are trying to poison me." Despite all of the family members being in the room when she says this, no one reacts to her comment. Paul then, who was a huge fan of Vanilla Ice, proceeds to rap Ice Ice Baby for the camera. Blech. Just giving you a visual of this, okay?
Stop. Collaborate and listen. Okay?
Literally. Then there's more footage of the family drinking and having a good time. And at this point, Paul and Karla had given Tammy Lynn the equivalent of 60 milligrams of crushed up halcyon. That is a lot of halcyon. 60 milligrams. The family started getting tired, and with it being Christmas Eve, they started going to bed one by one. Paul and Karla, however, wanted to stay up and watch a horror movie called Lisa and the Devil, which I've never heard of before. Have you ever heard of that movie?
No.
Apparently it's like, I guess, a ripoff of The Exorcist. I don't know. So yeah, they put this movie on and they asked Tammy if she wants to watch it with them. Tammy agrees, but she quickly passes out on the couch due to the alcohol and the halcyon that she was drugged with. So after Karla verifies that Tammy is passed out, Paul begins to assault her while recording the attack. And remember, this is all on camera. The jury had to watch this 3 times. Paul tells Karla to keep Tammy down and keep her quiet. Karla repeatedly tells Paul to hurry up. Paul tells Karla to shut up repeatedly. Karla tells Paul to put on a condom. He refuses. Karla gets frustrated and tells him to just hurry up and do it. The camera then shows Karla holding the halothane-soaked rag over her sister's face as Paul begins to rape her. Then, shockingly, Karla joins in and also begins raping her own sister.
Oh.
At one point, Paul forces Karla's head between Tammy's legs because he wants her to perform oral sex on Tammy. It is at this point that they realize that Tammy was on her period.
Oh, is this the dry heave part?
Yeah. Paul then makes her lick the blood off of her fingers.
Oh, God.
Yeah, this is foul. So she continues performing oral sex on her sister and raping her.
Ugh.
And in the book, Invisible Darkness, that I referenced a couple of minutes ago, it goes into the actual transcript in great detail. It is fucking awful. It's even worse than what I have outlined for you. And I'm not going to get into all that because it's just too vile. It's too much. I feel like I've already kind of painted a picture of what these two people are and what they're capable of.
This is her freaking sister.
Correct.
I can't.
I just want to make it very clear that Karla partakes in the assault and rape of her sister. She was not just standing by and filming it. She was engaged in it with Paul. She was seen enjoying it on camera. The people who have viewed the videos all agree.
Ugh.
Now, in her defense, and I hate saying in her defense because, but anyway, some parts she does give some pushback and tells Paul no. Specifically that with the period thing, she doesn't want to do that because she's like, oh, that's gross. But she still does it. She still does it.
She had a choice.
Yes.
She had a choice.
You always have a choice.
Yes.
So, yeah. Karla's helping him rape her. The video continues until Paul begins anally raping her. And then he very abruptly stops because Tammy begins vomiting up her stomach contents. Which, again, is why you don't go under anesthesia with a full stomach.
Right.
Something Karla, I guess, completely forgot about. So Karla grabs Tammy Lynn and flips her upside down so that she doesn't choke on her own vomit. But at this point, it's too late. Tammy had aspirated on her own stomach contents and had completely stopped breathing. So at this point, Karla and Paul are both freaking out. They know that they can't call 911 while Tammy is undressed and just lifelessly laying on the floor. So what they do is they drag her to Karla's bedroom and they redress her so that it doesn't look sus when the paramedics arrive. Paul performs CPR while Karla calls 911. Before the paramedics arrive, Karla dumps the halothane down the drain, hides the bottle of Halcyon, so she is covering up the evidence.
All of it.
Uh-huh. It wasn't until the ambulance arrived that Karla's parents were aware of what was going on, and Paul and Karla told both the paramedics and Karla's parents that they were sleeping and they were awakened to the sound of Tammy choking and throwing up, and then she just stopped breathing. One thing that struck the officers as odd was the fact that Tammy Lynn had a huge red mark on pretty much the entire right side of her face as well as around her mouth, which was obviously from the halothane-soaked rag that Karla had held to her face. There's pictures of Tammy Lynn's face online, autopsy photos. They're awful. I would advise against looking at them, but if you're like me and you're morbid, they're out there. I don't know. It might be important to take a look at just so you can see like how the police saw this on her face and thought that nothing fucking happened, but I'm going to get into that in a minute. So the ambulance comes and they take Tammy away. Karla's very hopeful. She tells her family that they saw Tammy breathing and that Tammy would be okay. The police show up, with Constable David Weeks being the one to question Paul and Karla initially. And of note, Constable Weeks is a rookie who has been on the job for less than 2 months. Take that for what you will. He sits Paul and Karla on the couch for questioning, which is weird to me because even someone with little to no knowledge of criminal law would know that the first thing you do is separate the involved parties and question them individually. That did not happen.
Hashtag should be common sense.
Yeah. Instead, Constable Weeks surveyed the scene and came to the determination that the three of them had been, quote, freebasing cocaine in the basement, and that is what led to Tammy becoming unconscious. We have no idea how or why he came to this conclusion, but that's the conclusion that he came to. Paul vehemently denies that the three of them had been taking drugs, and with that, the issue was completely dropped. They were asked about the horrific red marks on Tammy's face, and Paul and Karla said that the marks were caused by them dragging her body to Karla's room when they were trying to revive her. Never once was this ever questioned again. They were also not questioned as to why they would have moved her body all the way up to Karla's room to revive her. Why didn't they just leave her in the basement? But whatever. So Constable Weeks continued to question Paul and Karla when they were interrupted by the phone ringing. Constable Weeks picks up the phone. He says, and then hangs up the phone. He then turns to Paul and Karla and says, your sister's dead. And that is where we are going to conclude part 1 of Paul, Bernardo, and Karla Homolka. We will pick back up next week with part 2, and it just gets fucking worse.
Okay. I have,
That's all you can say.
but now I want to hear more.
Oh, I'll give you more.
Oh, I'm sure.
I'll give you more. I'll give you much more than you ever want. Yeah.
But there's more. That's the thing that's like blowing my mind right now. But wait, there's more.
This should have been enough. The Scarborough rapist should have been enough.
Should have.
But it doesn't stop there. It didn't stop there.
Okay.
And it doesn't stop at Tammy either. Should have stopped at the victim after her, but it doesn't. And the victim after her, but it doesn't. It just keeps going. And the details of it and just the casualness of it is very disturbing. Just the fact that they go on with their normal day-to-day life like ain't shit going on. We'll get to one part where they actually hold an Easter dinner for their family at their house with a corpse in the basement.
All right. Yeah,
It's just a complete disregard for human life, for anything really. How people can behave in that manner and just carry on like business as usual, I'll never know.
I don't even...
The fact that you can plan something like that involving your little sister.
And partake in something like that.
Not even just plan. Partake, yeah.
I mean, not anyone. Especially your own family. Like,
What's crazy to me is that I feel like as women, we need to take care of each other. And just the fact that you can do something like that to another female, let alone your own sister.
Correct, yeah.
Is baffling to me. How someone can be in a relationship and have their boyfriend, fiance, whatever come to you and be like, yo, I want to rape your sister. And you'd be like, cool, let's plan this. What kind of person do you have to be?
I didn't think that people like that actually existed.
They do. But Karla's smart.
I mean,
she's very, very fucking smart. Ugh. Scarily smart.
Nothing worse than a smart serial killer.
But yeah, we'll pick back up next week with part 2. And hope you guys enjoyed this. And I hope it didn't ruin your day too much.
It ruined my day.
I know. I got to keep going with it.
Well, I got to keep fucking listening to you.
Yeah. But yeah, we thank you guys for listening. It's going to be a wild ride, but we'll get through it. These stories need to be heard. I'm sorry, they do. They need to be heard.
Well, I haven't heard of... Like, I've heard of the Ken and Barbie killer, but I've never heard, like, this...
The details,
in depth. Like, shoo.
Shoo-wee.
Shoo-wee, shoo. All right, well...
All right.
Yeah, I'll try to find a better dad joke for next week, and good luck.
All right. Thanks for listening, guys.
Have a super day. See you next Tuesday.
But don't be one.
Bye.
Bye.